George Floyd protests have turned deadly today.
What do we want it?
Minneapolis and Flames tonight as protests continue.
We want justice for our people.
Night of
Protests,
chaos
tear
in
gas, and
Minneapolis.
looting.
We're gonna build this place back up.
This is about chaos.
News coverage has a centuries-long history of vilifying Black people and Black communities, and it's inaccurate, and it's helped reify and deepen racial hierarchies that have structured the society in the United States.
We need justice.
In my research, I saw these narrative trends play over and over and over again, and I often expected different results every time. Every new case that came up, I expected a different result, but that result never came.
Say trust the system.
I was on the way to move to Minneapolis when the news of George Floyd's murder in Minneapolis broke.
What do we want? What do we want?
Though I had read stories like this about the protests that were happening, I was going to be on ground zero. And the news reports were saying that the city was on fire each night.
Minneapolis in flames as protests continue.
But the city didn't burn each night. It wasn't on fire. These narratives, they misinform others, and that kind of misinformation and disinformation is used against people that look like me.
All my Black brothers up here, you are kings.
In 2020, we did have this opportunity to work in newsrooms, really for the first time, where everybody was pretty receptive to thinking about race and racism and also thinking about how that might manifest in coverage. But what we found is that through DEI trainings and changes to some of the language, it really doesn't change a lot of the overall patterns, and it wasn't gonna work.
We don't want to keep having to come to court. We hope for justice in this case. We also hope to stop seeing these cases. But we've seen killings since George Floyd, which is why we're going to keep on fighting.
The Live Project was born out of frustration. I was frustrated with seeing the same narratives over and over again. And what I quickly found was that so were journalists, because they want change, but they can't quite grasp it.
There are people who come on cable news stations, Tony, day and night, and they say, oh, this is going to be a difficult case. This is going to be such a hard case. And I rebuke that.
We're gonna keep marching. We're gonna keep George Floyd's name alive.
Community members were frustrated because they, even when they were sourced in news or were able to feel like they had a voice in the game, it wasn't quite portrayed the way they thought they wanted it to be. And they either can't see the change or don't care anymore. So with the Live Project, I decided to create different tools to figure out a way that we might think about reparative narrative change. We took on building new tools with research project that centered meeting community members where they are at. We figured out who the trusted messengers and change agents were, that were your coach, they're your religious leaders, they are your doctor sometimes. These are the people that were named as the place where they would go for news.
This is a lived experience that we go through and we talk about and we fight for justice.
Local Black journalists were the most trusted messenger, and one of the interesting things we found about them is that while some of these were naturally attached with the Black press, which is robust in Minneapolis-St. Paul, many of them were also connected with the mainstream press, the same mainstream press, the local newspapers and radio stations that they would also rank as places they didn't trust. So these Black journalists really become vessels of trust for news organizations.
To you, I am powerful.
We interviewed many of these trusted messengers to figure out what their needs were, how they got information, how newsrooms might be able to serve them. And we also looked at the news coverage that was coming out of the local area in the Twin Cities to figure out how we could put all these things together, which trusted messengers show up in coverage. How might we build tools to resource those trusted messengers? What could the news build that would get information to the trusted messengers that are the places that are informing these communities? We tried to really triangulate a bunch of data sets to come up with what we'll be presenting in the Live Symposium.
If we don't get it, we're going to shut it down.
From here, we hope to expand into other cities in our new home at Michigan State and throughout the Midwest. We would like to see if what we found in Minneapolis-St. Paul and that media ecosystem is replicable, because it happened the same way in Detroit. Are there unique needs and wants and desires from community members and media makers there? We want to know if that's the case in Gary. We want to know if that's the case in Chicago. We want to know what that's like in Kansas City. And we hope that we can streamline some of this research to build resources that newsrooms can use.